Hey, Pastor Jay, where are you coming from?
Hey, just got done with preaching team meeting.
All right. Hey, I'm curious, what is your favorite part about being a pastor?
As a pastor, you get a front row seat to watch God's grace at work in people's lives.
And what's your least favorite part?
Emails. We get lots of them.
Are you a very big reader?
Yes, I read a lot.
What books are you reading right now?
I am reading a book by Nancy Pearcey called The Toxic War on Masculinity. I'm reading Surrender by Bono, and I'm reading a book called Wax Packs, where a guy took a pack of 85 baseball cards and is tracking down all the baseball players. Where are they now?
Impressive. 3 books at a time. Are you a Kindle or a physical book guy?
You know, I've tried both, but I'm more of a physical book guy. We have to do so much on screens. I like to read old school print and ink.
I am the same way. What's your all-time favorite book?
All-time favorite book, in addition to the Bible, of course, I have to say that as a pastor, but probably the Chronicles of Narnia. It's the first series I remember reading as a kid, and I've read it to all of my children.
Okay. Are there any hobbies that you're currently obsessed with?
Any hobbies right now? We hike a lot, so finding our next great hike is pretty much our obsession.
Okay. Are you a music fan?
I am.
Okay. Who's your favorite artist right now?
You know, I'm going to be a bit of a homer here, but my 15-year-old son got Studio One this summer, and so I'm having a lot of fun watching and listening to what he creates.
Okay. What album have you listened to most in your life?
Probably U2's All That You Can't Leave Behind.
That's a good one. I love it. All right. I'm going to ask you a couple personal questions. Where are you originally from?
I'm from a little town in south central Illinois called Salem.
Okay. Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have 2 brothers, Marty and Ben.
Okay. How long have you been married?
I've been married for 26 years as of September the 13th.
Congratulations. What's your favorite quality about your wife?
Man, she is the most authentic person you'll ever meet, and she's beautiful, all in one package.
Great answer. Love that. How many kids do you guys have?
We have 5.
Okay. And what are their ages?
Oh, here we go. 23, 20, 17, 15, and 6.
Incredible. I'm glad that you can memorize that all. Do you have any advice for parents?
Yes. These are the longest days but shortest years of your life.
That's what I've heard. What's your favorite family tradition?
You know what? We try to make having family dinner a priority at least 2 or 3 times a week. And that really is our time to all connect, because with kids at all different ages and stages, that's where we get together.
That's great. Do you have any good dad jokes?
Yeah. Have you heard the one about the Mexican magician?
I have not.
He counted uno, dos, and then he disappeared without a trace.
Oh, incredible. I love it. Beach or mountains?
Interesting. I'm a mountains guy, but we like to hike. But my wife has also warmed me up to the beach, so I can do either.
Okay. Summer or fall?
Fall for sure. Favorite season of the year.
Where did you go on your most recent trip?
Most recent trip was to the beach for a family vacation.
Okay. Any bucket list trips?
Last year we went to Alaska, and the entire state is like one big national park. It was amazing. I've done a couple of biblical study tours. Our next bucket list trip hopefully is Glacier National Park.
That's awesome. When was the last time that God surprised you?
Sunday night, our send-off celebration at Station Hill. Somebody did a custom painting of our worship service. Jeremy Johnson and some of the guys wrote us a song. So it was humbling. It was a surprise, but it was just a reminder of how well our big church family loves.
That's beautiful. I love it. Okay, what is the best book of the Bible for a new believer?
For a new believer, I'd go any of them, right? But Gospel of John, I think, is the just an incredible introduction to the life and ministry of Jesus.
What's your favorite book of the Bible?
The book of Revelation. Because once you really study and lean into Revelation, you realize it brings back all of the themes of the other 65 books of the Bible. It all comes together and speaks to our hope.
That's awesome. What was the first thing that you remember being passionate about?
Baseball.
Okay. And what were you afraid about as a kid?
Oh man, I don't like, I used to think it was heights, but really it's ledges. I don't like the fear of falling off of something.
Yeah, and what about the worst injury you've ever had?
Worst injuries I've ever had. I gashed my head at a Brentwood Baptist Church summer camp and got staples in my head as a result, my very last camp as youth pastor.
Okay, but we're glad you stuck around all these years later. Who's your favorite preacher?
Who's my favorite preacher? I love right now to listen to Alistair Begg. That Scottish accent gives you automatic points as a preacher.
Incredible. What's the best sermon that you've ever heard?
I remember my parents taking me to hear Billy Graham in St. Louis in the 80s, and it's just probably the first sermon I can really remember having an impact.
Yeah, that's one that you don't forget for sure. How old were you when you knew that you were going to be a pastor?
I was 19 when God called me to ministry. It was really more of a surrender while I was on a hike in North Carolina.
Okay. Yeah, how did God reveal that to you?
Yeah, it was as I was praying, talking, trying to figure out between my freshman and sophomore year at college what I was going to do with my life. And it wasn't an audible voice, but that still small voice of the Spirit that just said, Jay, surrender your life to me. And I got a call the next week from a pastor who wanted me to come work with the teenagers at their church.
I love that. That's awesome. What was your first job?
My very first job was bucking bales of hay in the fields around Salem, Illinois.
Okay. How old were you?
I was 14.
Very cool. What was the first big purchase that you can remember after getting that job?
I bought a CD player. If you're under 30 years old, CDs were these little silver discs that we used to listen to music on.
All right. Where was that first sermon that you ever preached?
The first sermon that I ever preached would have been at Wisetown Baptist Church in Beaver Creek, Illinois.
Okay, small town. What was that sermon on?
That sermon was on Judges 3:31, a guy by the name of Shamgar.
Okay, I like it. Who was your first mentor?
My first mentor, probably in a lot of ways, of course, my parents were great mentors. I had some great coaches, but that first pastor that I served under, Tom Rankin, was really my first mentor in ministry. He was a bivocational pastor, and man, he just stuck by me, taught me a lot about ministry when I was in my formative years.
Do you have any advice for aspiring pastors?
Yeah, absolutely. Follow the great commandment and the great commission. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And so in pastoral ministry, that translates to, right? It still comes down, any way you define it, to loving God and His Word and loving people. No matter the size of the church, no matter your ministry assignment, you do those two things well, and you'll have a good foundation that will help you reach people and make disciples as we're called to do.
Yeah, that's great advice. How long does it take you to prepare a sermon?
Depends on the week and how familiar I am with the text now that I've been at this for a few years, but I spend anywhere between probably 10 and 16 hours a week. I walk with the sermon every day, so I internalize it as the week goes on.
And how do you know when that's done?
You know, one of the best comments I ever heard at a conference, and I think it was John Piper who said it, he said, when you find yourself thrilled with what God has showed you in the text, and you can't wait to tell your congregation about it, that's the moment when I know I'm ready.
Okay. Is there anything that you always carry with you?
I mean, you know, these days your phone is always on you, you know, those keys, those kind of things. But I always have my backpack with me. It's my portable office. And so I always have my journaling Bible and a journal in which I keep a prayer journal.
Who have you worked with the longest?
As far as, man, Mike Glenn and the folks who've been here on staff since the very beginning with me, Gail Haywood, Dennis Worley, Burl Corey, Mike Lawrence, those folks, 22 years.
I love that. Besides the head injury, what's your favorite memory of your time at Brentwood?
Man, there have been so many incredible moments. But I really do think that the first Sunday that we launched Station Hill, when God whispered in my ear during that prayer and altar moment, hey, you know what? God willing, there will be a congregation called the Church at Station Hill worshiping, proclaiming my name, discipling people, and reaching the community until Jesus returns. You just don't get to be a part of very many moments in your life that are going to outlive you in the way that one did.
That's awesome. What's your favorite part about living in Nashville?
Man, I think it's definitely that it is big city fun, but small town feel. I'm a small town kid at heart, and I love that even as big as Nashville's gotten and growing, you still find connections with people all over the place.
Do you have a favorite restaurant in town?
Favorite restaurant? Yeah. It's not in town. It's out in the country, but it's called Papa Boudreaux's. I did my MDiv at New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, acquired a taste for Cajun, and this guy moved up and has a restaurant that you have to go find. It's in the middle of nowhere in Fly, Tennessee, but it is worth it once you track it down.
Okay, that's good to know. I'll have to check that one out. Do you have a go-to coffee order?
Yeah. I'm boring. Black coffee. That's what I drink, straight black coffee. All 4 seasons out of the year.
Okay, hard one to mess up.
I'm easy.
What was your first mission journey that you went on?
My very first mission journey was when I was a teenager. Our youth group went to Fargo, North Dakota. Still the one and only time I've been to North Dakota.
Okay, what stands out about that trip to you?
Man, that we did puppet ministry, and you would have thought we brought a rock show to town. I mean, kids came out by the hundreds to see the little puppet show that we did, and we did a gospel presentation at the end of it. So I was one of those good youth group kids, choir and puppet tour.
Hilarious, I love it. What's the next mission journey you plan on taking?
Yeah, actually in just a couple of weeks, headed to Guatemala with my wife and my middle 2 children with Ella and Liam.
Okay, very cool. Is there anybody that you'd like to meet that you have not met yet?
Oh man, that's a great question. Being a history guy and being from Illinois, I think Abraham Lincoln, such a unique leader and such a unique time in our nation's history.
Interesting, okay. When you get off of work, what's the first thing that you do when you get home?
I kiss my wife. We made that a priority a long time ago, and then I hug my kids. And then I go collapse, right, and get ready for what's to come that evening.
Okay, smart man. What's one thing that's always in your fridge at home?
Always my mother's homemade salsa. It's incredible. It's the secret to my guacamole recipe.
Okay, good to know. Do you have a favorite thing to cook?
Yeah, anything I can put on the barbecue grill. I grill, I love to grill. I come home, my wife is a good cook, but she doesn't love to cook. And so that's one of the things that I do often when I get home when the weather's good. I put something on the grill, chill out, get ready for dinner.
Okay, so who cooks more, you or your wife?
It's even. She kind of takes that responsibility most of the weeks, and I like to cook on the weekends.
Okay. Do you have a least favorite chore?
Yes, ironing shirts. Can never get those things right.
Okay. What sports teams are you cheering for?
Oh man, my favorite, of course, is baseball. Growing up in Southern Illinois, I am a St. Louis Cardinals baseball fan. When it comes to other sports, college, University of Illinois was up the road, so I'm one of the few Fighting Illini fans around here. And then, of course, the Nashville teams. We lived here 22 years, so we've kind of adopted them as well.
What shows are you watching right now?
Earlier, I told you I have 5 children. I don't ever watch shows because there's no way we can get through a series of anything. But my wife and I, we like to watch documentaries, watch a lot of sports, watch the news. Kind of boring in that regard.
With 5 kids, what time do you wake up in the morning?
Yeah, 5:30 a.m. You got to beat them up or the day will own you.
Early start. What's your favorite way to exercise?
Walking, hiking. Yeah, Tanya and I take the dog for a walk in the evenings, and we hike on weekends when I'm off.
Okay. What is one thing that you're surprisingly good at?
My kids were making me do this just last night, talking like Kermit the Frog.
Love it. Okay, so this next question, I want you to answer like Kermit the Frog.
Okay.
What's one thing you wish you knew sooner?
Hi-ho, that life goes on really, really quickly, and you got to take advantage of every moment.
I love it. What's one thing you wish everyone would know?
Oh, man. I have this little saying that we've used as a benediction for years. You are loved in your sin. And I really want people to know that they are loved with the love of Christ and that God has a plan and a purpose for them, Ephesians 2:10.
Yeah. What Bible verse do you keep top of mind?
Yeah, for me, one of my life verses is 1 Corinthians 15:10. By God's grace, Paul says, I am what I am. And that's such a great reminder to me that everything I have, everything that I am is because of God's grace.
I love that. Do you have a favorite hymn or worship song?
Oh yeah, so many over the years. But I think How Great Thou Art, songs that pull us from the day-to-day into recognizing the glory and the greatness of God, helps recalibrate my mind and my heart and puts me where I need to be.
I know that foster and adoption ministry is a strong passion of yours. Why is that?
Yeah, well, adoption is the visible gospel. When you think about it, God didn't have to choose to adopt us, even when he saved us, but he did. He brought us into his family. And so through my wife's own testimony and her story, God called us to that ministry. And for the last 14, 15 years of our life, that's been a big part of our story, is adopting 2 children, supporting other families that do. And we know it's a journey, and we couldn't have made that journey without the support of our church family. And so we want to be that family that wraps around other families as they're fostering and adopting as well.
What advice would you give to a family looking to foster or adopt?
It's a calling as much as anything is in life. And anything that God calls you to, you have to depend and lean on him because you can't do it in your own strength. But with the help of him, his spirit, and his people, God is faithful.
Okay, how are you feeling about the new role?
Oh, listen, we're excited. We're excited for the days ahead.
Okay, and what's one word that describes the future of Brentwood?
That's a really, really hard question because there's so many great words. But I would say spirit-filled. That as we move forward, we want to be a church that's full of the Spirit and follows the lead of the Spirit. Awesome. Well, hey guys, it has been great hanging out with you. I've got to go get ready for Sunday. God bless, and I look forward to seeing you soon.